No firearms, rifles, or shotguns. Oh well. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. So we'll check out the pulse of the team right now with the Yankees. Had a big ALE showdown with the Toronto Blue Jays, which didn't go so well as a little sticky situation going on with some pitches, such as Matt Scherzer, and kind of David Cohen breaks it down. If you missed all that, I'll get you caught up on that, as well as with some of the latest injuries, some Yankee players coming back we've been waiting on, mainly Harrison Bader and Rondon. But before we get into all that, I know you're probably tired of hearing me talking about it, but there is an audio podcast version of the show, so you like seeing me, great, we all like seeing me, but I can't do this all the time. I would love to do this all the time. So, where else can I get Section 420 Talkin Yankees? So wherever you get your favorite podcast, go Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and you get more of me. So you get little wrap-ups, little stories, little notes. You can't see me, but you hear me. So make sure, again, wherever you get your podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, follow, subscribe, like it all. So the Yankees had a big showdown with the Toronto Blue Jays, came here, and the Yankees been like, okay, it was really their first, loss of the, series loss of the season, which was not no big deal, but there were some signs of that, a little troubling with this team. Now, again, a couple games over 500, so not something I would really worry about at this point. But you got to be a little concerned a bit with the offense. It really hasn't really got off to a super great start the whole season. Again, it's really been mainly the Yankee pitching that has been winning them games. I mean, the Yankees and the Rays up there in terms of team ERA across the league there. So that's really the main reason why the Yankees have been winning games. It hasn't really been the Yankee offense clicking in. And really, this first Toronto series, you look at it, they pretty much got shut down. I mean, they lost 2 out of 3, and the one game they won, they were barely lucky able to win that game. It took a walk-off hit by DJ LeMahieu, so great, you're happy you got the win, but really, it was a 3-2 squeaker win. It's a game the Yankees could easily lost, and if you look at the Toronto's staff with Kikuchi, with Manoah, as well as Kevin Gausman, they pretty much shut down the Yankee offense, so you kind of got to be a little concerned with that. If you look at the two teams, compare right now, again, Toronto kind of shut down the Yankees in their own building there, so not that I would panic at this point, but, and again, the Yankees are missing pieces. Of course, we know Giancarlo Stanton's out for a while, so that's going to have an impact. And, it just seems like some Yankees, it's not really, Gleyber Torres got off to a great start of the season, but he's kind of quieted down his bat, even though I'm not worried about him overall. So, it's just kind of like right now, it's just really been Judge and Rizzo's the mainstay for the Yankee offense right now. And, they've been hitting some home runs here and there, left and right, but really no one's been on the bases in front of them. So, like, some of these home runs are just kind of solo home runs. So that's really the main concern with the Yankees right now. But overall, and you see what they're trying to make a little bit moves. They're moving people around a little bit, and I'll get into Cole Calhoun a little bit. But, Franchi Cordero came a while. His bat got hot in the Baltimore and Cleveland series, but he's been a little quiet a little bit. So Yankees been searching right now. So, again, the Yankees took their first series loss of the season, not a big deal. I mean, overall, the Yankees had been winning all their series before that, and of course, split 2-2 with the Minnesota Twins. And they'll have a showdown in early May, 7 games against Tampa. That's going to be very interesting and telling. But, fans are getting a little bit concerned a little bit, but I wouldn't worry now because a couple of Yankees are coming back healthy, mainly Harrison Bader, finally, in double, and is going to be soon in AAA. He should be back up at the big club soon. And, of course, now Severino finally throw a little bit, as well as Carlos Rondon, the big free agent ticket pitcher who hasn't even thrown a lick yet since spring training, starting to finally throw, not having discomfort that he was experiencing, first with his forearm, then with his back. So once you get those pieces back, I think everything kind of falls in line a little bit. But the Yankees, I say they stubbed their toe a little bit. Didn't fall down the stairs, but stubbed their toe. And within the Toronto series, we saw Garrett Cole and Alex Manoah still fighting like two kids on the playground. Now, again, this goes back to last season, if you may recall, that it was in a game. Manoah hit Judge, and during the game, Cole didn't like it. He kind of ran out of the bullpen and jumped over the thing, and it was like almost like, not that he was going to charge the mound, but he was like very vocal about it. And then after Manoah's the post game of that game, it was like, hey, next time walk over the line and come up to me face to face, which you got to say Alex Manoah was more the man in that series. And, of course, during the offseason, Manoah had some choice words for Garrett Cole, calling him the dirtiest player in the league. So definitely something going on with these two. And I don't know if you really noticed it, but in, again, the recent Toronto visit here at Yankee Stadium, and it was a game, interesting enough, Garrett Cole versus Manoah in the game 2, and again, that was the only game the Yankees won. The Yankees kind of squeaked out the win there against Manoah, but really to get anything going against them. Manoah actually lasted a little bit longer than Cole in the game, but they both threw up zeros in the game. But nevertheless, what happened in that game a little bit now, Garrett Cole was taking his warm-up throw on the Yankee Stadium mound to get ready for the game, and of course, as the visiting as the home pitcher, he goes first, and then Manoah, what he was doing was kind of walk into the bullpen and get warmed up when it was his turn, but he was kind of taking his time a little bit, which actually caused Cole to have to delay and Cole had to wait for his throws until Manoah and his catcher was finally in the bullpen to start warming up. So little games of shit. You see a little, again, he's doing that little snide Cole a little bit. Now they went to Cole after the game and said, hey, did you notice that? He's like, no, I didn't even notice that. Of course he noticed that because that's why he wasn't throwing his warm-up throw. So you see something going on with these two. I don't think it'll come to blows, but, because I don't think Cole's that type of guy. But you can see this really festering, and, like, really now the Yankees and Toronto Blue Jays, this is becoming, kind of the rival. So right now, in the AL East, of course, with Yankees and Boston from the years, but Boston's is kind of like, yeah, right now you're just worrying about, like, they're like a fourth place team. Yankees Rays heated up a little bit, I would say 2-3 years ago, but now it really seems that Yankees Toronto, that's starting to get hot, and by the end of the season, I can say really get chippy, especially when a player slides into second base. So I mentioned the Yankee offense has been sputtering a little bit, and because Brian Cashman out there is searching for options. Again, DeFranchi Cordero, little ride there was good for a while, but he seems to cool down a little bit. Again, with him, if he connects it, hits a home run. If not, he whiffs a lot, but he whiffs a lot, unfortunately. So Yankees looking for some other solutions. So they decided to offer a minor league contract to Cole Calhoun, bringing up here. So he's not really going to be the major league club yet. You probably have to wait for some going down, but I'll give you the wrap on Cole Calhoun. You probably don't really know much about him. 35 years old, 11-year vet now. He's had a couple of seasons where he's hit double-digit home runs. Now, last season, not that great, hit about 200 with his 12 home runs, but did play 135 games. So, again, semi-durable. But really, the idea of Cole Calhoun, really, I guess his appeal or his fit for the Yankees is that, obviously, he's a left-handed bat, left-handed throw. So, of course, we all know left-handed bat at Yankee Stadium, blah, 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 blah. So we all know that deal. But it's his defense. Has 3 Gold Gloves, got one with the Angels, got one with the Diamondbacks as well. So he's been around baseball a little bit, as well as the Texas Rangers. So, he's kind of a reliable guy. So he's probably just a situation with, with Stanton out for a while, and the Yankees are probably going to find a throwaway in the mix there because, again, the Yankees got to just find a way to generate a little bit more offense. Again, left field has not been great for the Yankees. Obviously, Aaron Hicks has been disastrous. I mean, it's going to get to a point where I just don't know. They're going to have to cut him to some because he's just completely terrible. Oswaldo Cabrera, he finally got his first home run in that Toronto series. Bat's heating up a little bit, but still you kind of wait for him to take off yet, and he really hasn't. So, and of course, Franchi Cordero, again, had the good Baltimore and the Cleveland series, great, but since then it's been kind of quiet. So they bring Calhoun here. They'll probably give him a try again. He'll probably be in the minors for a while, and then once someone gets hurt or goes on the IL, something like that, they'll probably try to find a way to work him up here, see what he could bring to the table. Again, but he's just probably more for someone that you could depend on his defense, mainly put him in left field at Yankee Stadium, which we know is spacious. You kind of almost need a center fielder to play at left field. And of course, he has a left-handed bat, which is a good fit for Yankee Stadium. So that's what he does here. Again, 35 years old, you're not expecting much out of him, but he's just an option right now because Cashman's just kind of a little bit grasping for straws a little bit. Just because, other than really Rizzo, Judge, Gleyber, the rest of the guys really haven't been doing a ton. I mean, you would like to see a lot more from Trevino. Even the young guys, Volpe, he got 2 home runs under his belt, and he's been a little bit better. He's been great on the base, but still, he hasn't really been hitting great for average. He's creeping up a little bit, but not still a great start from there. And, just with some of the other guys, like Peraza, who they bought up for the Donaldson industry. And okay, but no one's really tearing it up for the Yankees. So right now, just, looking for any sort of solution. So they want to see what maybe Calhoun at some point could bring to the table. Now, at some point, with Aaron Hicks just struggling as much, they're probably going to have to end up DFAing him. Eat the money for both this year and next year because it's flat out he just can't play, and it's just been really brutal. And at some point, when Harrison Bader gets up here, it's just going to be one less roster spot, and you can't have someone like Hicks, who pretty much at this point is just an automatic out, just taking up a spot there and taking up at bats, especially when you're in a situation with the Yankees right now where you're struggling to find runs there, and this is Aaron Hicks. So it's probably going to come back sooner or later. That's just going to have to be the case there. Now, you talk about, well, he's making all this money. How can you just DFA him like that? Well, again, the Yankees have done it in the past. They more or less did it with A-Rod in his final season. They basically gave him $25 million just to stay home. Again, that's probably what this situation is going to do with that. As well as Mark Teixeira, I think his last year, he kind of retired / Yankees said, look, you're hurt, you can't play anymore, just go home and collect your money there. So it's probably the situation you're looking at with Aaron Hicks right now. And again, just right around baseball, just very recently, Madison Bumgarner, making $33 million, got DFA'd by the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, I mentioned him because I think that actually could be an option for the Yankees. I wanted the Yankees to kind of kick the tires on him last season during the trade deadline. The Yankees didn't. And for some reason, I just think he would be a decent option for the Yankees to look at now. he's not exactly, super old. I mean, he's only 33, but he does have a ton of innings on his arm. I mean, he's been around for quite a while, over 2,200 innings on his arm. He kind of came up young, and the Giants pretty much abused him. I mean, he would go out there 7 to 8 innings at a time. And, this season he was 0-3 with an ERA over 10, so you understand why the Diamondbacks let him go. And again, last season he was 7-15, but on a lousy team. But I think this might be an option for the Yankees, because you see what they're throwing right out there with the combination of Herman and Schmidt. Now, Herman had that one really good start. Might have been because of the sticky stuff on his arm, which we'll get into in a moment, against the Twins. But he's kind of been up and down a little bit, not great. And Clark Schmidt, again, had one decent outing against Toronto, unfortunately, but that was a game where the Yankees gave him no offense, and then he ended up giving up a 2-run home run to Grau, and then they chipped away after that. So to me, Clark Schmidt does not seem like a starter. I like him a lot, but he's more of a long reliever. He's someone maybe, if the starter gets knocked out in the second, third inning, you bring him in for the pitch 3 innings like that to save your bullpen. But for him to make starts, I just don't think, and of course we know he's a placeholder until Sevy and Rondon come back either way. But Clark Schmidt right now, I don't think he's the solution for that, as well as Herman. Again, he's been up and down a little bit. Again, I like Herman a little bit more than Clark Schmidt, but again, if Madison Bumgarner is available, bring him in here. I mean, you have to pay him, like $500,000. I mean, get him for relative peanuts, and let's see what he has. Maybe a left-hander pitching for the Yankees. Maybe rejuvenates him a little bit. Maybe just puts a little extra pep in his step like that, and maybe it turns out to be something for the Yankees. Because again, they're telling us Rondon's coming back, and I think he is at some point, but still probably going to be a slow process. They're saying May now. But that May could definitely turn into June. Same thing with Severino. It's like, well, he's throwing a little bit, blah, blah, blah. He'll be back in May. Of course, that also might be a June situation. So even if you get Bumgarner here, just like give him a start, give him 2 or 3 starts to see what he got. Maybe he got something. If not, just you get this DFA him again there. It's not like you have to pay the guy much. So Rondon's finally starting to soft throw a little bit, so he's kind of working his way back, as mentioned, as well as Severino. But another pitcher that the Yankees have been waiting on all season has been Tommy Kahnle. Again, the Yankees had him for a couple seasons back in 2018 and 2019. Went bounced around a little bit with the Dodgers, so the Yankees signed him this offseason. He was kind of excited to be here, but unfortunately he hasn't thrown a lick yet because he had a bicep tendonitis, which kind of took him out for all spring training and so far all this early part of the season. But finally, after the Toronto series, when the Yankees hit the road, the plan is to have Kahnle start throwing on the side a little bit, just to kind of work his way back, and that's going to really help the Yankee bullpen, which overall has been good for them, but you see them getting a little bit taxed. I mean, they've had to use Michael King and as well as Clay Holmes a lot. As a result, they've had to, you saw the situation where they had to put Wandy Peralta to use him as a closer, which I don't think the Yankees really want to do. And unfortunately, he did in that game send around a game-tying 2-run home run. Now, that was a game the Yankee won, so it wasn't deadly. But you can say the Yankee bullpen starting to get a little taxed a little bit just from not having Loizaga, who's again been hurt a little bit, and as well as not having someone like Tommy Kahnle, who the Yankees he was kind of probably going to be the one who's going to replace Chad Green. So once you get both Kahnle and Loizaga back, I think that should help everybody. Takes less pressure off Michael King, as well as take less pressure off Clay Holmes, and the Yankees have a normalish bullpen. It's been good as it is, but still, if they can get those pieces back, it'll be much better. And in the late innings, the Yankees are also going to be without Lou Trevino. And he's been hurt pretty much the entire spring training and started the season. Now, he was working his way back, but he did have a setback, so they sent him back to New York to have an MRI. And of course, the Yankees are going to be without him now. He's not really an exactly important cog, I'd say, between like someone like a Tommy Kahnle and Lou Trevino. Tommy Kahnle is going to be a more important piece. Trevino's kind of, they got him last season. He's kind of a bit of a, again, yeah, he was the A's closer, but a lot of up and down seasons. He's a guy maybe, again, he has that sinker. So, if you have a situation like in the 5th or 6th inning where it's like bases loaded and you need him to, get a big double play with some runners on, you bring Trevino out for that one at bat and then you get him out of there. So, not really bad for the Yankees, but again, he had a setback, so he's going to be out for a while. Situation is it's just like, it's kind of bizarre. They don't know exactly what it is. So at some point, he probably not looking to him until maybe about June, July, if that. And, I'm always the fan of relief pitchers. The creatures of habit. Someone who was always the 7th and 8th inning pitcher, they kind of get themselves warmed up in the 5th or 6th inning, their mindset to do that. So again, I don't like the idea of not using Clay Holmes in the 9th inning. If he's your closer, use him as a closer. And then if he completely fails and can't handle the job, then you say, all right, you're out of the role and someone else is the closer. But I don't like when you have someone, once in a while he's the closer, sometimes not the closer, sometimes in the 8th inning, sometimes in the 9th inning. I just don't think, relief pitchers, they're just creatures of habit, and I just don't like messing around with them like that. So again, it's almost even Peralta maybe. Again, I don't even blame him for giving up that 2-run home run that tied the game like that. Just because, again, he's probably not used to being in the 9th inning. It's just a different, he could handle it, but it's just a different beast. So not a fan of it. I just wish Boone wouldn't tinker with that stuff. And if if he wants Holmes to be his closer, then be a closer. Don't bring him in the 7th and 8th inning like that, and then have someone else close the game, because it's just it just messes with these guys' minds a little bit. Again, not a fan of it at all. All right, let's get going. So Major League Baseball has a little sticky situation on their hands. So as you remember the Yankee game a couple weeks ago with Domingo Germán, he had a situation where the umpires tested his hand. It felt a little bit sticky, but they said, hey, look, just go wash your hands, it'll be fine. Suppose he came out and there was still a little sticky stuff on his pinky there, but the umpires let him continue in the game. And of course, opposing manager Rocco Baldelli wanted a challenge. He basically protested it and almost had himself thrown out of the game by himself, really, just in protest like that. But they let Germán continue the game. Well, shortly after that, I'm sure with the situation with the Mets and Matt Scherzer. Matt Scherzer had a similar situation, but they kicked him out of the game, and afterwards he got a 10-game suspension, again, for having a sticky substance on his hand. Now, according to Scherzer, it was, yes, the normal, again, pitchers are allowed to use the rosin to kind of, get a good grip on the ball, and some of them kind of, they, I guess, bend the rules a little bit, try to put a little liquid on there, whether it's water or in his case, he said it was rubbing alcohol. And now he said, well, I did it just to clean my hand off. But, why are you doing that? So I'm sure if you saw the ESPN telecast, which now has David Cohn, our own David Cohn now does some of the ESPN games, did a little experiment there in front of everybody, just showing the camera where he powdered his hand up with the rosin bag, put a little rubbing alcohol on it just to see what happened, and the ball literally stuck to his finger hanging off there. So for Matt Scherzer, and the fact that Matt Scherzer didn't even challenge the 10-game suspension. I mean, all these players, usually when they get suspended, they challenge it first. Usually goes an arbiter and it gets knocked down a little bit or it gets overturned. Matt Scherzer didn't even bother challenging it, so that's kind of telling in there. But Cohn just showed that, yes, if you mix rubbing alcohol with the rosin, you get a sticky substance onto your hand and you'll be able to grip the ball there. Now, a lot of people are saying, like, well, did David Cohn trying to, out every pitcher in Major League Baseball? No, I think in more in a way he was trying to defend Matt Scherzer just to show, hey, look, this is commonplace, and the pitchers, all of them out there, need a grip. And now we remember back years ago the whole Michael Pineda situation where he had the pine tar in his neck, and he was dipping it and going the ball, and of course the opposing Boston pitcher basically called him out, and Pineda was thrown out of the game for that. All these players, like, it's got to be a thing about baseball. I think even the hitters know it, or the pitchers know it, of course. They're using something to try to get a grip because, again, even the batter does not want to get hit in the head with a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. So the whole thing about baseball, again, with everything else is like, all right, do what you have to do, but don't get caught, Like the Pineda situation. Don't put it on your neck, Obviously, there's ways you can do it. You tuck it in your belt, you put it in your back pocket under the bill of the cap where you get a rub and get on the ball. Again, even the opposing hitters are okay with it because, again, they'd rather you have a grip and knowing where that ball's going to go versus the ball slip out of your hand and you hit someone in the head. No one's going to hit in the head. So it's sort of a thing like everyone knows about it, but, everyone just keeps hush about it. But the fact that Matt Scherzer used the excuse, like, well, I was using alcohol to clean my hand, the rosin off my hand. Well, Cohn showed, obviously, no. The rubbing alcohol plus the rosin makes the grip even more grippier, if I think I say it like that. So Scherzer's going to serve his turn game. I guess what Germán is, whatever he told them, maybe through the translator, of course, the umpires believed his story and it seemed more believable. I was like, all right, I'll go wash my hands, it'll be fine, and that was it. And again, they left Germán alone. So very interesting. And again, a lot of these pitches is going to have to find another way. Now, we remember with Garrett Cole last season, when he wasn't allowed to use the spider tack anymore, he struggled mightily. Again, he had that kind of run there where, like, they looked at his spin rate was down, his fastball wasn't good. Again, he was giving up a lot of home runs. Again, he gave up 33 home runs last season. Again, he has 0 so far this season, which is quite incredible. So with Matt Scherzer and these other pitches, they're just going to have to find another way. Now, again, Cole seems like he's found another other way other than using spider tack. So, I mean, Cole's on top of his game. Again, 4-0 in his first 4 starts. And, yeah, he didn't win that game, the Toronto game. But, again, he went pitch into the 6th inning and threw zeros up there. So, gave himself a chance to win there. So, Cole's different. So, Cole figured out, another way. And pitchers like Matt Scherzer and others, they're just going to have to find another way to get a better grip. And we've been waiting on Josh Donaldson. Initially, he had the hamstring injury. It was only supposed to be 10 days in the IL. Well, he also had a setback a little bit, so it's going to take him a little while before he's back up here on the Major League circuit. Now, Yankee fans are probably a little bit happy with that. Again, Donaldson, okay-ish to start the season, but, both Donaldson and Hicks are 2 players where a lot of Yankee fans would like to get shipped out as soon as possible. Now, in the short term, the Yankees brought up Oswald Peraza to take Donaldson's spot until he comes back. And, you got to hand it to the Peraza. Obviously he lost out the shortstop job to Anthony Volpe, but he went down to AAA, he handled his business, he didn't complain, and he just waited for his opportunity, and he got one here at the Yankees, and he kind of contributed a little bit in that one win the Yankees had against the Toronto Blue Jays there. So, he hasn't really gotten off smoking with the bat there a little bit, but between Donaldson and Peraza, I think most Yankee fans would rather see Peraza up here getting his opportunities versus Donaldson. And for Donaldson, I think a lot of Yankee fans are like, all right, take your time. If you want to take, few months to come back, go ahead, take all the time in the world. But happy at times on the other side of the diamond. You have to give congratulations to Yankee first baseman Anthony Rizzo, surpassing the 1,500 hit mark of his career. So it's about halfway to the magical 3,000. Now, do I think Anthony Rizzo is going to be get 3,000 hits in his career? Probably not. But the fact, he's still young. He's only 32. So to get that mark, I meant he'll have to play at least until he's like almost 40 to get to that. So not sure that's really going to happen with him. But nevertheless, it's been a great season for Anthony Rizzo. Now, in spring training, he didn't do that much. It's kind of, I mentioned both him and Stanton as somebody you have to keep an eye on because they did not have great spring training. Well, it really goes to show what spring training is. Rizzo's been fantastic this season. Now, mainly helped a lot by the, the no more, you can't put the shift on the players. So players like him, have benefit of that, hit well over 300. So, he was like a 220 hitter with the Yankees last season. Just goes to show that now with baseball removing the defensive shift, he's hit about 120 points better this season. So he's having a great season for the Yankees. And only thing we have to worry about him, of course, he has that bulky back, which balks on him a little bit. Now, so far, so good this season. We haven't seen that. But if you remember last season, both in July and August, Boone had to give him a couple days off here and there just to rest his back up. Hasn't cropped up on the season yet so far, but at some point, it's probably coming down the pike. Now, the first game when the Yankees went to visit the Minnesota Twins was ugly, of course, when that losing to Sonny Gray, which is terrible, and then having Joey Gallo hit a home run against you was even doubly terrible. But if you blinked, you might have missed something great for the Yankees. They finally threw a runner out at second base. So the Yankees have been struggling this season, both Higgy and Trevino, throwing runners out. They kind of, pretty much empty in that area. Finally got one, bagged someone in that Minnesota game. So that's like really only good news to take away from that. So this has been kind of a weird season. Trevino's been decent, but last season both him and Higgy were really great at that, great at framing pitches. It's just been, for some odd reason, throwing out runners at second base. Now, it could be because of the new rules in the pitch clock, and again, you're seeing a lot more stolen bases around baseball. It's a little tougher for catches now because, again, just with the limited number of throws, a pitcher could throw over the first base, which kind of it makes it a little easier for the runner to take off there. So that's probably part of the reason. But again, finally, the Yankees got that one on the board. Thank goodness. And based on the way the Yankees were pretty much manhandled by the Houston Astros in last year's playoffs, the big three for the Yankees, mainly the captain Aaron Judge, as well as Anthony Rizzo, who we just mentioned, and Giancarlo Stanton, basically went to management and said, hey, look, we need to change things. We need to change the way we attack teams there, because obviously you just saw the way the Yankees were pretty much, in a way, is kind of overmatched against the Astros. And then, we all know the Yankees kind of rely on brute force and hitting the 3-run home run and stuff like that, which we know it happens in the playoffs. Doesn't happen in the playoffs, and of course didn't happen with the Yankees, and that's kind of why they got swept 4 games to nothing there. So basically they went to management and said, hey, look, get different players, let's get different strategies, and that's why you kind of see the Yankees now taking off on the bases there, mainly with Anthony Volpe, 8 for 8 in his first 8 attempts there to steal a base there, so he's been great on the bases. We've seen Gleyber Torres, who I mentioned earlier in the episode. He's been sneaky fast on the bases, and of course we've seen the big man, Aaron Judge, stealing bases as well. So I think the Yankees just want to change their approach a little bit. Now again, they're in a bit of an offensive funk right now, so you don't kind of see it, but it's a little bit different of the team, different aspect of the team right now, where again they're not relying on the homer as much. Again, but they're not doing enough of the small ball stuff just because with players hurt a little bit and a little inconsistency. But nevertheless, they went to managers and changed things around. So that's why you've seen the team, take a little approach in their coaching, as well as now they enacted something where now the team meets every 2 weeks. Just all the players, kind of a players only meeting the coach, and they kind of go over all the grievances. Hey, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? Let's readjust like that. So you're going to see the Yankees, again, just trying to be a little bit more calculating in the approach, which maybe in the past they haven't been. It was like, hey, we'll just rely on the Stanton 3-run home run there. So, so it's just good to see that the Yankees, mainly Judge, of course, taking the lead there with that. And again, he's been great as a captain for the Yankees. You saw the situation when, again, the Yankee Stadium faithful booed Aaron Hicks at a game. You saw was Judge, the captain, coming over there, console him a little bit. And on a recent road trip, when the Yankees, obviously, you have to wear your suit when you get on the plane like that. It's kind of a, it's a baseball rule like that. And Anthony Volpe was getting a suit tailored up, and then when he went to pay the bill, he found that Aaron Judge already took care of the tab. So seeing Aaron Judge spread the money around a little bit like that, again, being the actual captain that he always was, but now now he has the C on his chest, you really see him really getting into that role. As we all know, A-Rod's a little bit more likable now. Again, as a player, always seemed like he had like a personality issue, like he didn't know where he'd fit in, and he would try too hard, he didn't know what to do, what to say, like that with A-Rod. Again, a little bit more likable now that he works for ESPN baseball, but now you're hearing noise that A-Rod wants his own sort of ESPN documentary, similar to what they did with Derek Jeter, the Captain miniseries, which got a lot of accolades, a lot of people talking. Now, A-Rod kind of wants something similar done for him, to kind of go over his career. I just think we always seen A-Rod always trying to like mimic Jeter. I mean, look, if you look at the 2 baseball players, A-Rod, hands down, is probably the better baseball player than Derek Jeter. We all now know that. More power, probably better defensively, all around. But he just always seems to like kind of always chasing Jeter for some reason. Again, Jeter, again, the lesser player, but of course Jeter got to the Yankees just at the right time, all the championships and stuff like that, and A-Rod kind of came afterward, and it was kind of seen as like the decline of the Yankees in at least the Torre years. And of course, yes, A-Rod finally got one in 2009, and it was the only pretty much the reason why the Yankees got that '09 championship. They owed it to him. Other than that, A-Rod's has kind of always been seen as a negative. He always seemed like he's chasing Jeter. Now it seems like he wants his own documentary, similar to what Jeter had. So I don't know about A-Rod. I mean, he just, frankly, he would really get interesting until he came to the Yankees. I mean, okay, right, he came up to Seattle, he was a star, gets the big contract with Texas, fine. But really the drama didn't happen until he came to the Yankees. And of course, you had the whole situation with the blonde girl in Toronto, or it was Boston, that whole deal with that. And of course, the biogenesis, and then of course, supposedly failing the 2003 or whatever, 2003, 2004, PED test, supposedly Ortiz. That's where all the drama happened. So, will A-Rod open up about all that stuff? I don't know. I mean, that would be the only thing interesting about him would be, the inside, like, did you cheat? Did you use a substance? What did you do? I mean, he's never really fully admitted it, so to get him out there to fully admit it, I guess that would be interesting. But other than that, not really much of an interesting guy. The reason with Jeter's interesting because, he's just kind of this, there's something about him. He was the captain, but he didn't tell you much at the time. So now you want to find out more things about Jeter. That's what made it interesting. A-Rod, other than the biogenesis and the PED stuff, there's really not much interesting about him. And the news is a little bit on the old side, but it's worth mentioning for this show just because, he is one of the Yankee lore. I guess because the name was Joe Pepitone, passing away before the start of the season at age 82. And again, the Brooklyn native, played with the New York Yankees in the 60s. And the reason important is it was kind of like that last linkage between kind of, so he played with Mantle and Berra and Whitey Ford and all those guys. So his passing is kind of like maybe the completion of that group right now. So pretty much all those guys are gone right now. Again, Ford was probably the one that went before him, and of course Berra before him, like that. So kind of that whole 60, kind of 60 Yankees, pretty much team all but passed. And Pepitone himself, a bit of a character, for the Yankees. And I'm sure, if you're a Yankee fan, come to the game across the street, you would see him many times. Usually would have a table set up there. He would sign autographs a lot. And just because back then the players didn't really make the big money, the big bucks that they made now. So of course you would see players like that just trying to signing balls for 10, 20 bucks like that, just to, make some money now because they didn't make the big money back then. And Pepitone was just that type of guy, always kind of like conniving, trying to find ways to make money, scratch here or there. But again, you try to make a living because he didn't make the big bucks back then. But unfortunately, he was like the last one to go of the Yankee lore. So now you're kind of looking at maybe the 70s team of kind of being that group of old legendary Yankees there, just to show you how. And even the guys from the 90s now, you kind of look at them like, oh my God, that was almost like 30 years ago. So getting a little scary with the age there. But nevertheless, Joe Pepitone, unfortunately, no longer with us at the age of 82. And 2023 is a bit of a historic year for the New York Yankees. So it's actually the 100-year anniversary of the old stadium, which right now is a baseball park. But of course, right there, 100 years ago, you had the original Yankee Stadium. Again, that was constructed because the Yankees kind of were out there welcome. There you were playing up in the Polo Grounds there with the Giants, and of course with Babe Ruth, they were out drawing the Giants and kind of embarrassing the Giants there. So the Yankees kind of moved across river here and opened up into 1923, and again opened up with grace. Of course, Babe Ruth christened it with a home run, and it was a game the Yankees won against the Boston Red Sox. So that's the episode. The Yankees take a little slap in the face by the Toronto Blue Jays. Not a big deal. A lot of baseball left to get some revenge there, but a little scary at that. You want to get the Yankee offense going. But real good test is going to be up in May. 7 games against Tampa, and that's really the matchup. You see where the Yankees stand. So hope you liked the episode. And again, remember, if you like the show, you want more content, make sure wherever you get your podcast, sign up Section 420 Talkin Yankees. Get exclusive content only available for you podcast subscribers. I think there's a train around here somewhere.